Hello everyone, welcome back to a very special video. I'm DTM as always, and we have the Summer's Duels ranked rank 1 data for March 2026 with SDR finished around like a couple of days ago. Now is the great time to take a look at this data and see what the meta is looking like. And yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed the previous 2 installments. Yes, this is going to be a regular thing. Thank you so much for all the support and feedback. Got really good reception, so we are going to continue this. And yeah, if you do enjoy, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. All right, so for this SDR, quite frankly, in terms of captain skills, there was one clear winner. Flighting talent was just like the thing. Yeah, unfortunately, like using a save was not exactly that popular, this SDR, mainly because we have Heimdallers running around. And I mentioned this before in the previous installments, but Heimdallar functions like a save, but better because it is guaranteed that you have at least 1 survival instead of like a save potentially being able to be dead from your enemy. So yeah, Impregnable definitely got the short end of the stick there, and similar to Mass Confusion, so really the only option is Flighting Talent. And in terms of bonus units, considering how people thought Elise was just going to be like super dominant and meta in SD, she's actually not that highly used, considering that she is a bonus unit. And we'll talk about this more once we get into the actual usage rates. But if you compare it to like a unit, say Sakura, in Sakura's debut, she reached like the 70s or the 80s. And so Elise here being in the 30s is a signal that she's not exactly a meta breaker or anything like that. She's just like strong, right? And yeah, don't get me wrong, like obviously Elise is a strong unit, but she's not broken or extremely broken like Sakura was. And so yeah, that is interesting considering her reception, but I'm just delaying and teasing at this point. We'll actually get into the unit usage rates. And yeah, obviously the king of this SDR season by like over 30 percentage points from second place is Alphador. And Alphador, what can you say? Copying bonuses is extremely strong. Not only that, but you can also take the bonuses that your enemies have and apply to your own team. And so Alphador just becomes like the Landoris T in a way of this SDR, but does a lot more to help enable your teams, because obviously you can spread extra movement, you can spread the cancel that Heimdallr has, and not even that, but you don't even need to run Heimdallr if you have Alphador on your team, because if you run into an enemy that has Heimdallr, then Alphador can just get that cancel for free. So you don't have to take up a slot to put in Heimdallr in order to just like take an Alphador and get the cancel, right? And so yeah, it's because of those reasons that Alphador is just number 1, fits into so many teams, like very few teams don't want him. If nothing else than the fact that it is like a quote unquote a sort of counter to Heimdallr on enemy teams, in that you can just use it for yourself. It's actually really interesting because you actually don't see him paired with Heimdallr as often as you would expected. One of the pairings that I discussed in the previous video is the Heimdallr Alphador pairing, because obviously Alphador helps spread the cancel to other teams. But because of the fact that you don't need to have Heimdallr on your team, if your enemy has Heimdallr, that means that there's less of a need to use Heimdallr yourself. And so that's why you only see Heimdallr sharing with Alphador at like a 40%. Obviously, they're still really, really good pairing, so they're like tied for first place, but it's not like over a majority or anything like that. So yeah, that's something really interesting, but it just goes to show that Alphador is not limited by the units that you can pair up with him. It's really just about like not just the bonuses on your team, but the bonuses on the enemy team as well that you can take advantage of. So yeah, very, very interesting. And yeah, definitely clears all the other units in terms of being number one. Like no other unit comes close. The next one is a Heimdallr here. And yeah, Heimdallr here is to be expected. We've been talking about the decline in saves compared to the rise of Heimdallr's cancel effect. The cancel effect that Heimdallr has is just a more effective method of protection compared to saves because, again, it guarantees that the enemy can't actually kill a unit of yours, whereas a save, technically, the enemy can take out the save unit if they're strong enough, and so you'll be down a unit. And obviously, maintaining that numbers advantage is extremely important in Summoners duels, not just due to the fact that, you lose points if you lose your units, but also having more units mean you have more action economy. And so that allows you to have a lot more options in terms of maneuvers or nukes or just like plays that you can do. And so, yeah, Heimdallr being able to provide that protection is really, really good. Technically, we should combine a Mythic Heimdallr with New Year's Heimdallr because they are effectively the same. And I think in combination, Heimdallr just barely reaches the 50% range. Not as high as Alphador, but still very, very high. And so, yeah, as you can see, Cancel remains the most effective protection that you can apply for your team, which I guess is to be expected. And then next we have Baldur and Sakura tied at number 3/number 4. Baldur is the premier nuke of this season. Baldur not only functions really, really well in being able to get in, thanks to being able to easily run Heavenly Soar, but also is generally like very, very strong so long as you either have triangle advantage or have the exposure buff on the enemy, because that way she gets the Brave, which means she does a lot of damage. And also if you have triangle advantage, then obviously Arch Rival is extremely strong in being able to punch through the bulky defenses that a lot of units have these days. And so because of these reasons, Baldur is the premier nuke. Not only that, but she is also really, really tanky herself. So it's actually really hard to be able to take her out, to remove her as a threat compared to some other units that we'll definitely talk about later on. So yeah, it's the combination of her very, very good bulk and her potent nuking capabilities that she is the premier nuke. One disadvantage that Baldur has is that she doesn't really have the threat range that some of the other nukes have. Because she is reliant on Heavenly Soar, her threat range is effectively 5. Similar to a melee unit running Celica Ring. And so compare that to a unit, say like Brave Lyn or Spring EIRIKA, or even like Brave Celica, really. All those units have better threat range than Baldur. And so that is a downside to using Baldur. That is why a lot of the teams that use Baldur do rely on Heimdallr's cancel to be able to have Baldur be able to go in to range effectively. Even if it's within the enemy's threat range, because obviously with the cancel, you don't have to worry about the enemy's threat range. You can just push Baldur in very, very far and she will be safe. And that compensates a little bit of her limited threat range. And so yeah, that's generally how people generally use Baldur, this SDR. And then we have Sakura. I don't think much needs to be said here, although again, definitely not as high as Sakura is in SDS. Sakura obviously is really good at having the units be able to retreat back. So as long as your nukes are able to go in, Sakura provides the assurance that they are able to go back. I think the main issue with Sakura is that a lot of the nukes these days, like Baldur, EIRIKA, they generally have Canto distance. And so for the most part, you are able to retreat back without the need of Sakura. And so really Sakura is there to help against things like Corrin Ring with the terrain or Canto control. But due to various circumstances, including Legendary Elise, that has been seen less and less. Canto control obviously is still very, very prominent amongst the highest teams. But in general, the C slot is very, very competitive. So it's not as seen as, say, in 2023 when Kanto Control was literally everywhere. That did diminish Sakura's usage a little bit, but obviously she's still number 4. She's still very, very strong for a reason. Technically number 3 because it's tied, as I mentioned before. And again, regardless of all that I said, it remains the fact that Salvage is still insanely powerful and there's no counter to that. And so, regardless of those mitigating factors, Sakura is still extremely meta and extremely strong, and is definitely a unit that is worth slotting in. Plus, with Byleth Ring, she can now have a 2-range dance, which just further supports the team. Byleth Ring in general is just really, really good for healers. I talked about this in the last SDS usage rate. It is still true in SDR. And Sakura is one of the best users for Byleth Ring, so her gaining the ability to become a dancer is just, makes her even stronger. And so, yeah, definitely top tier, and that's why she's here at number 4. And then here next we have Elise. Elise is interesting because she is bonus, so you would think that her usage stats would actually be inflated due to people wanting to slot her in to take advantage of the bonus lift and stuff. But in terms of her debut season in SDR, she's actually relatively low at number 5 with only 35% usage rates. I did mention that Sakura on her debut was in the 80s. And I think the problem with Elise this season was, one, the map that was currently being ran was really awkward for Elise. It was really hard to put her into a position where you can effectively use her style, because you have to remember, even though the style is technically 6 range, it is only in the cardinal directions and one space left and right or up and down of that. And so that is actually a very limited range when the map favors more like diagonal movement. And I'll be honest, most maps, like you are facing the enemy like diagonally. And so it can be hard to put Elise into a position where she can use the style effectively. And I myself ran into that a bunch of times when like Elise was just not in a position to be able to use the style to either deactivate Heimdaller's cancel or to clear the terrain. She was generally just like really in an awkward position, like either like in the corner or like too far away to be able to make it work. Because you gotta remember, it's not just that you have to align it within 3 rows or 3 columns. It also has to be within that 6 range. And so that is actually a really limited range compared to something like Thor Button, where it is 5 rows or 5 columns centered on the unit, and the range is infinite. That means Elise has to be close enough to be able to apply the style, but also lined up correctly. And so it just ends up being a lot more inflexible to use than one would expect. Obviously, that being said, Elise is bonus and her style is really good still, which is why she is at number 5 and not like down here. And so, yeah. And of course, what I said about Sakura with Byleth Ring is true for Elise as well. Elise is a really, really good user of Byleth Ring. Again, healers being able to have the ability to dance and re-enable Kanto is just a huge buff for them. And Elise is definitely one of those units that takes the most advantage of that, in addition to Sakura. And again, the style is still really good to clear terrain and to deactivate the Heimdaller cancel. It's just the fact that the map that we were in for this SDR didn't really lend itself well to Elise's style range. And so that is why she was not as dominant as you would expect from her bonus season. So yeah, that is Elise here at number 5. At number 6, a newcomer to this chart is Mythic Adult Tiki. And I'll be completely real with you. The only reason why Mythic Adult Tiki is here is because she's a Thor counter, right? Like, if it wasn't for the fact that Tiki counters Thor, Tiki would never see the light of day, like ever. Like, it is only because of that that she as a save is this high. You don't see any other save having the same sort of usage rate as she is in the 20s. And so you're really just using Tiki for that anti-Thor. Now you still run save on Tiki, right? Like you don't run something like Strat Assault or anything like that, because ultimately having a save, if you're going to run an armor like Tiki, is still useful to tank a hit, right? You rather tank a hit with Tiki and protect one of your nukes than not run save at all. And so, yeah, Tiki being here as a save does apply that save protection for like one combat. And one thing that is kind of underrated about Tiki is that she is colorless, and therefore is actually somewhat decent against Baldur, right? Baldur actually struggles quite a bit with colorless or blue units because she doesn't have triangle advantage over those colors. And so Tiki here being colorless does make her decent against Baldur. Now, it's not like amazing or anything, and obviously Baldur can still take out Tiki, but you know, it's not free compared to if like Tiki was red, for instance. And so that does help her save capabilities a little bit. But I mean, let's be real, Tiki's here only for anti-Thor. We all know this, you all know this, and that's why she's here at number 6. So yeah. That's why Adult Tiki's here. Number 7 is Thor. And you would think with the release of Tiki, Thor would just be absolutely dead. But that's not the case. One, not everyone ran Tiki, obviously. It was only 20%. So that's like 80% of teams that reached rank 1 didn't use Tiki. So on those type of teams, Thor obviously would still be useful. And getting rid of Heimdallr is just so strong that personally I would take a slot to run Thor to be able to get rid of it, even if like Ascended Tiki would make that impossible, right? And so because Tiki is not super dominant, it is still respectable to run Thor to have that anti-Heimdallr, anti-bonus stuff. I talked about this with Elise, but Thor just has so much better range than Elise. Actually using either Elise or Thor, I had to run Elise for bonus when I ran out of normal lives. But switching to Elise, it was just so much more limiting because, again, Thor's range with a button is just so much bigger. It's 5 rows and 5 columns, and it's infinite range compared to Elise's 3 rows or 3 columns and only 6 range. And that makes a huge difference when, say, like the enemy just like moves their team like a million miles to the left or right, but like it's outside of Elise's range, but they're protected by Heimdallr, so you can't do anything. And yeah, it's just Thor just is a lot more consistent with the range, even with the existence of Tiki. And so, yeah, personally, I still find Thor very, very useful. And obviously a lot of people did, which is why she is here at number 7. But obviously, compared to her heyday, Tiki did put like a ceiling on that and did make it so that, unfortunately, Thor did drop a bit in terms of usage rate. Obviously, not too much. She is number 7 here, but yeah, it is a little bit blunted because of that. At number 8, we have Brave Harmonic Lyn. And Brave Harmonic Lyn is here because she is one of the highest threat range nukes that is actually good. Sorry, Summer Celica. Summer Celica is somewhere down here. Yeah, number 3 with 3 usages. But yeah, Lyn has the Cav range in addition to the 3 range style, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is 7 range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's 6 range. Sorry. Although you can extend it to 7 range if you copy extra movement from Alphador, or to 8 range with Gallop. And so, to be clear, none of the teams I think actually use Gallop. But regardless, Lyn is still very, very high threat range. And as you can see from like the top units, there's literally only one save. And that one save is not there for the save. It's for anti-Thor. And so as long as your Brave Harmonic Lyn can beat like Ascended Tiki, or not Ascended, Mythic Tiki, you're golden. As long as they can beat Baldur, you're golden. And so, yeah, because of the limited bulky units that you have to target, units like Lyn, who can struggle on the more tanky units, like potentially Icthnir or Alfred or whatever, because there's less saves, Lyn has basically free range to be able to target what she wants with her high threat range. And so, yeah, she, at least before EIRIKA got released into the game, she is the primary range nuke that we've seen. And that's just generally because she is the best one that has that like 3-style high threat range capability. And so, yeah, that's why we have Lyn here at number 8. And then at number 9, we have EIRIKA, literally released during this SDR season, but once she got released, she obviously proved her worth. Not only does she have the same high threat range as Brave Harmonic Lyn does, but EIRIKA herself just is a lot more powerful as a nuke. I think I underestimated how much power her nuking capabilities have. She is like a delete button, essentially. There is very few units that can take on an EIRIKA. And so, yeah, because she is actually a really, really good nuke and has the same high threat range as Lyn, she became the dominant nuke in the latter half of the season, which is why you see her at number 9 here. And yeah, that combo is just like a winning combo, right? Like, I don't think you can really ask for more for a nuke. And so, yeah, EIRIKA really strong at number 9 on her debut. And then we have Brave Harmonic Celica. Brave Harmonic Celica was an alternative nuke compared to Lyn and EIRIKA. She is really, really good as a nuke, and her miracle is actually really annoying and makes her like deceptively hard to take out. And so, yeah, it turns out that Celica is a lot more tanky than you would expect because of that miracle and the fact that there's not a lot of anti-warp and not a lot of people running Fatal Smoke. And so, yeah, just due to the fact that a lot of the threats don't have miracle. And so Brave Harmonic Celica can take advantage of that by actually having miracle when not a lot of units have. And so, yeah, because there's not a lot of miracle, not a lot of teams are like running Fatal Smoke or anti-miracle, which means that miracle becomes relevant again. It's just funny how like that sort of meta thing develops, right? So yeah, very, very good nuke, very high threat range again with the style. And of course you can put extra movement or gallop on Celica. It's probably the easiest to run extra movement. But yeah, that is the top 10. Very interesting top 10. We got some new units like EIRIKA literally dropping midway, Thor still being top 10, etc., etc. Very, 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 very cool to see. In terms of like units that are no longer high up here, if you remember from the last time we talked, Emblem Edelgard and Brave Male Byleth were relatively high in the usage ranking. Like, I think Emblem Emblem Edelgard, oh my gosh. Yeah, Emblem Edelgard and Brave Male Byleth were really high, or relatively high. I believe Emblem Edelgard was a bonus during the last SDR season, which was back in January. And so obviously she did have that boost there. And now that she is no longer bonus, she is gone. Only 3 people using her. Far cry from like the mid of the table here. So yeah, she's gone. Brave Male Byleth also gone. I'm pretty sure Brave Male Byleth is like, yeah, no one used Brave Male Byleth. Brave Male Byleth basically got replaced by Brave Harmonic Celica. So yeah, sorry Satoshi, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. I guess technically we can count Thor as a unit that sort of fell because Thor was originally in the 50th percentage, which would have put her actually above Heimdallr in this current usage ratings. She was number 3 in the last SDR in January, and now she's number 7. So that is a drop from like 50 to 20 is a pretty significant drop, but obviously she is still meta viable and in the top 10. So it's not as bad as say Emblem Edelgard, who was like probably in like the number 4, number 5 to like all the way down there. And so yeah, I guess she got that going at least. But yeah, I guess Brave Harmonic Lin went from like being literally unused or very few usage from the last SDR to now being like in the top 10. I think a primary reason for that is that she is a part of a common copy pasta that people ran before EIRIKA existed, and therefore she was able to benefit from EIRIKA not existing and therefore being like the most consistent high threat range nuke that we have. Again, nuking power was not as relevant, so Lin, despite her relatively limited nuking power, was still able to perform because of just the way the meta is. And so yeah, very, very interesting to see that. I do want to highlight someone outside the top 10, and that is Niffle. Niffle was also featured in a copy pasta, and Niffle I feel like is actually a little bit underrated because the ice that she applies to the enemy team is actually extremely disruptive in terms of like the enemy's opening and them just being able to move their units effectively. And I think it's underrated because, you know, only 8% really used her, but I do think that the frozen support and like all that jazz is really good, but it's really just the ice. And being able to block in the enemy, especially on turn 1, means that you can control the area a lot more effectively. And sometimes that's all you need in order to win, right? Just choke out the enemy's team while you accumulate capture points. Because they can't like get into position in time because of the ice, Niffle just makes that all work. And so yeah, Niffle is actually seeing some usage, which is really, really cool to see. It's really, really good when you see like these sort of refines, like revive a character. And so, yeah, I'm really happy to see that happen with Niffle, and I'm sure Hanadi is as well. So yeah, let's take a look at the teams. I've been talking about copy pastas a lot, and yeah, it's actually really interesting because in the beginning, the main pastas were these two. We had the Lin pasta, where we feature Lin, Alphador, Sakura, Tiki, and Thor. Having Thor and Tiki on the same team is really funny to me. I guess these people like to play both sides. But yeah, that was the main CN pasta, and we see that here a bit. Maybe a little bit of variations with like, in terms of like other unit slotted just due to their barracks, but in general, the Lin, Tiki, Thor, Sakura, Alphador was like one of the pastas that we've seen early on. And then the other one is the Balder pasta with Niffle. And this one actually stayed throughout the entire season. This is the FX pasta, mainly due to the Chinese player FX being pretty famous in the SD community. They ran Balder as the captain. Balder is the primary nuke. We have Alphador. Again, Alphador is just really good with the bonus sharing. We have Heimdallr as providing the protection. We have Thor to remove the opponent's protection. And then we have Niffle to disrupt the enemy team. And yeah, this is a really disruptive team, again, with the Niffle and the Heimdallrs and the Thors. And so yeah, that is one of the primary pastas we've seen. In terms of like the other CN pasta, like I talked about this briefly, but Lin is there as the primary nuke. Sakura is there to help with Lin being able to retreat back, because one of the issues with Lin is that she doesn't have Canto distance. She only has Canto remaining. And so Sakura helps patch that up by making her able to like retreat all the way back. Alphador is here to, again, have the bonus sharing, but also because this team doesn't run Heimdallr, Alphador is there again, to act as that sort of counter to Heimdallr, because if the enemy team has Heimdallr, Alphador can take that cancel and apply it to, say, Lin. who will then be able to go in without fear. And so that in a way allows you to take advantage of Heimdallr without having Heimdallr herself. That being said, though, Tiki is generally used as the main source of protection, especially if you run into an enemy team without Heimdallr. You fall back to Tiki providing that save, which is useful in a pinch, I guess. And then, yeah, Thor here to remove Heimdallr, cancel button, and just bonuses in general. And if we go to the team frequencies, you can see that the FX pasta is the second most used pasta this SDR season, and the Lin pasta is the third most pasta used in this SDR season. And so, yeah, that is the story behind the two pastas that dominated the first half of the season. But it turns out that was not the pasta that dominated the entire season, or is the first place. That one has to go with the EIRIKA pasta. With the release of EIRIKA, EIRIKA is obviously now the primary nuke, and so you replace Lin with her, and then you say, you know what? We don't need Thor. We're just going to run Veronica instead for the reflex and the action economy. You still don't run Heimdallr because, again, Alphador provides that quote-unquote counter to Heimdallr by being able to share that cancel with the rest of the team from the enemy Heimdallr. And because of that, if you run into a Heimdallr team, you also have the cancel. And so it's sort of like in a stalemate. So there's not as much of a need to run Thor to remove the cancel if you have Alphador and you can apply it to your own team, right? In that case, it becomes essentially like a mirror match, and you can play around that a lot more effectively. And so, yeah, Thor becomes less useful in that context, which is why you slot in Veronica here for the reflex, for the favor support, and for the action economy. And so, yeah, that's why when you see once EIRIKA gets released, we see a lot more EIRIKAs being reused. Although obviously the FX pasta is still really strong, Baldr's still really strong, but yeah. Yeah. As in terms of the other teams, as you can see, there were not a lot of Elise teams. The Elise teams happened a lot later, and I want to say it's generally because people either want to take advantage of the bonus slot, and so in these type of teams, generally Baldr is the primary nuke because, again, you run Bylethring on Elise, which means that Baldr can re-enable her Canto and go back in again. Baldr most of the time runs, I want to say, either Ike Ring or EIRIKA Ring. EIRIKA Ring is helpful if you are facing against a colorless or blue unit, which you don't have triangle advantage for, which can be very, very helpful. And so, yeah, Baldr is generally the primary nuke, which is why you see her a lot in the captain's section, although interspersed with EIRIKAs and the rest. But yeah, that is what is happening in terms of teams. These three teams are the main pastas. These are generally from the Chinese community, and so yeah, thank you, Chinese community, for blessing us with these pastas. I'm sure a lot of people are very, very intrigued and researching these. But yeah, very, very cool to see. Speaking of the Chinese player base and regional trends, I want to go back to this usage chart and take a look at the individual region usages, because at least when it comes to the Chinese community, one thing you'll see is that they are very high on Sakura and very high on Tiki, right? In terms of Tiki, other regions are only in the single digits and in the 10%, while in the Chinese community, it is in the 55 percentile range with 16 usages, which is a huge difference. Basically over half of Tiki's usage comes from the Chinese community. 64% of it is, which is a huge bias towards the CN. The CN community is generally the community that is the most quick in taking advantage of new units. And so, yeah, they were the ones who took advantage of Tiki really, really quickly and were able to cook with her. obviously Sakura has been here for a while. And so I'm not actually sure why the other regions dropped in terms of Sakura usage. I want to say it's probably because of Elise. Most players from the other regions probably swapped Sakura for Elise because Elise was bonus. Because you could see corollary to Sakura being super, super high in the CN community. In Elise, literally only one CN player used Elise. For the longest time, it was 0, which is like really, really funny to me. Like the CN community hates Elise. They're like Xander or Oblivion, I guess. So yeah, that is really, really interesting to see. But yeah, in terms of like the JP community, the Japanese community, it's a lot more spread out, although they were relatively higher on Baldur than the EN or CN community. And very, very high on Elise as well, even higher than the English EN community. I mean, we don't really need to talk about the CN community when it comes to Elise, so yeah. In contrast, they were not that high on Sakura, literally only 6 usages, not even in the double digits, and contributed the lowest usage rate when it comes to regions at 15th percentile. Again, I think this just shows that most of the Japanese players probably swapped to using Elise because she was bonus, and she can sort of function in that healer role with Byleth Ring, and probably used Elise as like the answer to Heimdallr compared to like a unit like Thor, which the JP community really, really hates compared to the other regions. And so, yeah, the JP community probably moved to Elise in opposition to Sakura and Thor because of that reason. So yeah. Funnily enough, they're also not that high on Alphador. Although this isn't saying much because, again, over 50% is not low in any means. It's still really, really high. But I just figured I'd point that out. And yeah, for the English community, we were pretty average, I have to say. Like, not really any super highs or super lows. We were just relatively average, although we were a little bit slow in using EIRIKA. Again, the CN community in general is the community that is most quick to incorporate new units. So EIRIKA did have lower percentage in the other 2 regions compared to CN. But that's just how it is, you know? So yeah, that is the, I guess, overview when it comes to the regional data. Of course, now that we've done all that, we have to crown the top 3 free thinkers, aka least meta slave players of this current SDR season. And yeah, if you don't know, with all this usage rate and the player data, we are able to calculate a meta coefficient, which is basically a score of how meta you are. And the top 3 least meta players are done by the players that have the least amount of this score. And so, yeah, in number 3, we have Clefable. So Clefable is an EN player who has Micaiah Legendary Micaiah, New Year's Valley, Brave Icthanir, Emblem Micaiah, and Anniversary Marth. So we have the double Micaiah challenge going on with Clefable, which is really, really nice to see. Isn't it kind of crazy that Icthanir is now like a free thinker type of unit, like not a meta unit? Like if you go back to the unit, like Icthanir is like all the way down here. And so yeah, because Icthanir is so low usage, again, saves have fallen out of favor. Using Icthanir means that you're technically not a meta player. And same thing with Valley, right? In terms of SDR, Valley seems to be more of an SDS type of unit because it's a lot more easier to use Valley as like a save there compared to SDR, where in general you just use Heimdallr and stuff like that. And so yeah, this team is the number 3 least meta team. Congratulations to Clefable. And yeah, at number 2, we have Zex. So Zex is a Japanese player, and they have a team of Emblem Corrin, Winter Alfred, Rearm Soren, Emblem Micaiah, and Mia. So yeah, double armors is very, very brave because we do have a lot of powerful nukes, as I've mentioned. So this is the Soren Ball. Like Corrin and Alfred are the saves. Soren's there to provide that assigned decoy. Micaiah is there for cleansing. And Mia is, I would imagine, the primary hit and run nuke of this team. And so, yeah, all this together makes it a very interesting team. Mia also provides some really, really good support. And so that definitely helps with Corrin and Alfred being able to survive. Micaiah also helps survive because the cleansing obviously means that they're not as debuffed, which means they are more tanky. And yeah, this is basically just Soren Ball with Mia just going in and picking apart the enemy team one by one. So yeah, congratulations to Zex for number 2 least meta player. And then at number 1, we have Evan here. Evan is an EN player with the Needhogger team. Always gotta rep the Snake Queen. You love to see people repping their favorites. And so yeah, we have the New Year's Needhogger, the Legendary Milshez, the Valentine's Hortensia, the Ilian Hilda, and the Attuned Tharja. All of these are very, very rare units in terms of usage rates. And yeah, basically, Hortensia here is the magic saves, gives the physical save to New Year's Needhogger thanks to Guardian. And then we have Hilda as the brave support, and then Shez and Tharja as the primary nukes. And so, yeah, very, very cool team. You love to see it. You love to see people reaching rank 1 with their favorites. So yeah, that is the top 3 least meta teams this SDR. I want to give an honorable mention though. I want to give an honorable mention to this Japanese player who did a full-on Awakening theme team. Like, oh my gosh, you are my idol. I love you. Like, being able to reach rank 1 in SDR with a theme team, like a game Awakening theme team, is amazing. And not only that, it's not like these are meta units at all. Like, Noir is not a meta unit, Martha's not a meta unit, Maribel is not a meta unit, Morgan is definitely not a meta unit. Literally the only reason why this player is not in the top 3 least meta teams is because they use Tiki. And Tiki is like number 6. So yeah, they kind of unfortunately, like, because they used Tiki there, they fell out of the top 3 least meta players. But regardless, this is still really, really cool to see. You always gotta love theme teams. And I, for one, always appreciate Awakening love. So yeah, thank you so much for repping Awakening, the best game in the series, don't add me. And yeah, that should be the data analysis when it comes to the meta report for this SDR. Hopefully you all enjoyed this. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. And yeah, let me know how you did in the last SDR season and what your thoughts are on the units that managed to do well in this meta, the units that did not do as well. Let me know. And yeah, hope you all have an amazing rest of the day, and see you all next time. Bye, everyone.